Good. Let us begin our study. We are at the Singapore Buddhist Mission. So today we're going to complete this volume, last three very short and interesting suttas, chapter 7, 8, 9. This is volume 38, and we're going to do the last three chapters about this lady Mallikā, Queen Mallikā, who's the queen of King Pasenadi. Right? So I've got a lot of interesting story about Pasenadi and Mallikā. These are three very useful conversations between the king and the queen. And this is very suitable for lay people to study. So, sutta study is not just any kind of talk. The proper preparation, mindfulness is very important. When we become a Buddhist, we must always remember the first purpose is to awaken in this life. Right? Of course, when we talk like that, people will say, wow, this is quite difficult for me. But that's the general principle. It is possible to awaken in this life. So the monks and the nuns, they practice meditation so that they can attain very deep joy of the mental level. So they don't need to depend on bodily joy, in other words. That's why they don't need to have families and so on. So that's you can say, package one, the best package. For lay people like us, we should at least reach the path in this life, at least. It took me 30 years to realize this. Well, I said that 10 years ago. 40 years. We all grow old very fast, we forget that. What does it mean to gain the path in this life? It's nothing difficult. In fact, if we don't take this path, the alternative is terrible. I mean, you're going to go below the human plane, right? It's just a simple way of life, of reflecting on impermanence. I've talked a lot about this many times before. Right? So this is a reminder. So this is a package 2, stream winning, once return. So basically what we're saying is being a Buddhist also is developing a special kind of attitude. One word is mindfulness. The key word is mindfulness. In fact, nowadays, these scientists and psychologists, they have used a new term. For some reason, they don't like to use the word meditation because they're very conscious some of these terms are used by the Catholic Church, by the Christians before. Of course, there's no problem for us using the word meditation, but with this modern psychology, they like to use the word mindfulness. Actually means the same thing. Right? Of course, for Buddhists like us, mindfulness has a broader meaning. Mindfulness means sitting quietly, paying attention, that's mindfulness. When you do deep meditation, mindfulness also is involved. So it actually is a proper, usable term too. Of course, you want to go into technical fineries. Mindfulness is sati. It's only one aspect of meditation. Whereas when you talk about meditation, we mean bhavana. Bhavana means cultivation, growing. So another way of looking at Buddhism is growth, personal growth, or growth means change, so personal change. You must occasionally, once a year at least, Vesak Day, maybe after Vesak Day you was too busy to think anyway. After Vesak Day, when everything's done, you ask yourself, this 1 year, what change have I grown to? Positive change. All right? Over the many years, what change have I gone through? Before I became a Buddhist, after I became a Buddhist, what change have I noticed? Positive change. This is very important. Buddhism is about self-transformation, about change. If someone comes to the temple and 10 years later, no change, or worse, become more angry, more power crazy, and more problematic, something's wrong, right? Nothing's wrong with Buddhism, People like to blame Buddhism, Right? Someone can come and say, what can Buddhism do for me? The answer is nothing. Because Buddhism is you, it's us. Right? We practice it. We look at our minds. Because in Buddhism, again and again, the Buddha tell you self-reliance. A lot of people don't realize the importance of self-reliance. What the Buddha is saying, you can do it yourself. Other religion starts by telling you, you are no good, you are evil, you are a sinner, and you need help. And only I can help you. Wow, you have to rely on external agency. Now this philosophy, religious specialists, they got all these terms. Agency, that means you depend on something outside you. But the Buddha said, that's the whole problem, Without the Brahmins, they're saying, you depend on me, and then they tell you what to do, and then you don't have to do anything, and you got yourself into a lot of trouble. Nothing's happening in a good way for you. But self-reliance means you look at yourself, examine yourself, because when you understand yourself, you understand everything around you. This idea of self means the mind. Okay? So we'll see this theme running throughout these three stories we're going to look at the same in today's study. In other words, every time we come to a sutta study, it is not a talk. Although sometimes you find an introduction, I just give you a talk because I'm so inspired by the suttas that I feel I want to share this feeling with you. So it's a sharing of a feeling. I'm not here to inform you. I'm not here to entertain you. You can always watch TV shows for that. Rather, if you like, we can say, I'm here to educate you. And we are here to transform ourselves together. And this is a very wonderful way of learning together. So that when you go back home, or maybe not immediately, maybe in time to come when you're doing your meditation, or maybe you can be doing some of the most worldly things in the world. You could be quarreling with somebody, and you realize, oh yeah, what I studied in the sutta is so true now. I often get people coming to me and telling me this. They say, something I heard in the sutta, then I realize what to do now. I know what to do. That's wonderful. If you know that, the Dharma has helped you, right? So it's not so much of knowing lots and lots of suttas and discussion and what do you call that, arguing and quarreling. That's not the real purpose. Discussion is good. Discussion for learning. But this change must happen sooner or later. That is why when you study suttas, you find there are lots of repetitions, Also, we notice. If you notice a lot of repetition, that's good, because that means you have been following the teaching, right? So one of the ways of gaining wisdom is listening. Another way is reflecting, right? Now, reflecting is a special term we use for a mirror. The mirror reflects what's in front of it. In other words, the mirror does not, a good mirror does not distort the image. So when we reflect is when we hear the same teachings again, then we kind of look at it upon ourselves. So in other words, we look deeper into this teaching. I've been looking at this very same suttas for the last 40, 50 years, but I never cease to be amazed. Each time I translate it, try to write an introduction, commentary, there's always something new, because you have to connect the various teachings, and then in your daily life, you see what's going on around you. So you're having the tools now for your mind to work with. So reflection is a very important aspect. And of course, you put it into practice. And then you do your meditation. Now we come to a very important aspect of understanding the sutta. Without meditation, you just understand the sutta just like any other scholars. There are many other scholars who are really good in the suttas, but that is the word level. Take suttas like literature. And some of them are not even Buddhists, They specialize in what you call Buddhist, the Pali canon. You go to different centers, even in the Pali College, there was this lady who came to me last month. She said, we were doing sutta, we're supposed to translate sutta, studying Pali, and then all these suttas and Buddhism, and we're doing a degree course, now we have to translate. We don't know what to do. So they heard of sutta discovery. So I said, of course, we'll do what we can to help you. But the interesting thing is this person who took the trouble to find out, he says, I'm not a Buddhist, I'm a Catholic, I'm studying Buddhism. So, of course, I didn't have the time to discuss long with her. I would like to ask her, are you studying Buddhism? Are you going back to report to the church or what, I mean, normally we study the suttas, we would like to be Buddhists, right? So, what's going on here, you might say, right? You see, other people are very interested in Buddhist scriptures. They may or may not have good intentions, because they're saying, how come these Buddhists are growing so fast, and yet their organization, their methods, their social work, are not that advanced like other religions, and yet they are growing. But that's because of the teaching, because of the suttas, you see. So imagine if we can make the sutta more widely known and study in a very structured way, in an experiential way. That means you practice it not just as a ritual. I can tell you, you produce more intelligent people, and more important than intelligent people, spiritual people. In other words, let me ask you a simple question. If you have a serious problem, I'm talking about a personal problem, suddenly you find no meaning in life. You come to the temple, you can't talk to anybody. Everybody got problems. Who do you turn to? Who do you look for? Of course, but yeah, you can go to the shrine, definitely. But even someone to talk to, it's very difficult to find that person, right? Now, if I have a problem, I tell you, I don't know who to turn to. I have to turn to Ratna. So this is the blessing of marriage. You have someone you can talk with. But seriously, you find you need someone to talk to. It's very difficult to find that person. So we need people who are grounded in practice, in stillness of the body and mind, openness and generosity of heart. Someone who are able to listen to you intelligently. Someone who won't tell you, it's all right, It's not all right, you're suffering. Okay, you say it's all right, right? So we need this kind of people. But the point is, even though you may not find such a person, you can be that person when your time comes. You'll be surprised. In other words, never underestimate your ability when you have faith in the Dharma. I mean, if you have worked here for so many years in the Dharma, I can tell you, there is that grounding in goodness, kusala, skillfulness. It's there. It's just that you need the courage to talk, to tell people just what you know. You don't need to know everything, You just tell what you know. And by your kindness, your ability to listen to others, they will say, wow, it's very kind of you, You listen to me, Because just because you're listening, I feel good already. And that's the easiest counseling. You have that attentive presence of mind, listening to this person. This person feels good. And that's all you need to do. Your presence. In meditation we say what? Present moment awareness, right? So this is the real practice when someone needs help. Something very simple. No need to give deep teachings. Be there, tell this person, I'm here to listen to you. This is the nature of life. You are experiencing the First Noble Truth. Look for the cause, look for the conditions, and work towards solving this through what you can study in the suttas. And then come more regularly to this place, something like that. So this is Buddhism in practice, the compassion aspect of Buddhism.
My husband said, you always attract these trouble people. Like me to talk to them. Because all day long people phone up, he's irritated, he scolded me.
Okay.
You seem to attract all these trouble people. I say, don't say that, it doesn't cost me a cent. I just talk a few kind words to them.
Yeah, true. You see, this is the thing about when you're a Buddhist, especially when you're a good Buddhist, when you're a wise Buddhist, people will come to you. And I can tell you, if a problem in marriage, it's better for you to talk to a layman who is married and know the Dharma, rather than talk to a monk, because a monk is not married. He won't be able to give you good advice. And you might end up becoming a monk that makes things worse for your marriage. Unless both sides agree, that's different. I'm not against monkhood at all. What I'm saying is, I have a lot of young people coming to me saying they want to become monks. I say, first question, I'll just ask you, you have a girlfriend problem? And they usually say yes. Then I say, please, don't become a monk. The monkhood is not a dustbin for failure in relationships. But if you're sincere about becoming a monk, yes, renunciation is different. So monks can talk to you if you're a practitioner like now, most of you. If you want to do meditation, the monks are very good advisors. So you must know who to go to for various problems. Of course, there are some monks who are previously already married and then later they become monks. They might be able to give you advice, yes. very old monks probably. The problem is many of these monks today are very busy, they have all kinds of activities, so it's again problem meeting them. So that's why we need lay people, lay counselors, lay workers. You don't have to look special, you just need to be present, available. And if you cannot be present at that time, you get someone else, you refer to someone else. Or another day, you say, oh, come this day, and then you keep your appointment. So this is a connection with people. This is what we are about, not just festivals and rituals. Yeah. So stories like this of Mallikā and King Pasenadi helps us with stories to inspire people. Now, Mallikā's story is very interesting. She's the daughter of a garland maker. So garland maker actually is low caste. They put flowers together. You go to Serangoon, this little India, you see them putting all the flowers together. Whenever I see that, I say, oh, that's Mallikā. You know, Mallikā, garland maker. I find it's a very famous occupation in the Dhammapada stories, for example. So she is the daughter of the chief, the main garland maker in the city, in Kosala, the country of Kosala, of which Pasenadi is the king. Now, she was around 16 years old, the story goes, and she brought some gruel, like porridge, to offer to the Buddha. And then and that day when she made the offering to the Buddha, then the Buddha received the offering, the Buddha smiled, happily smiled. Now Ananda is beside the Buddha. Ananda knows that the Buddha never smiles without a reason. There's always a reason when he smiles, okay? So Ananda asks, why are you smiling? So Ananda is like the middleman for us, so we don't know what's happening, what's in the Buddha's smile. So Ananda is like someone who asked the Buddha what's going on for our benefit. So that's recorded in the suttas and the stories. So the Buddha said, well, this young girl, the 16-year-old girl, Mallikā, her fortune is going to change today. She will be the queen of Kosala. You look at this kind of story in the sutta, this is all found in that commentary, Dhammapada commentary. Right, so I said that she will become the queen of Kosala today. And true enough, you see this king Pasenadi, he was at war with his nephew. You remember the nephew? This notorious king, what's his name? Ajata Satu. Ajata Satu is Bimbisara's son. Remember, he killed Bimbisara. So he became king, and now he's fighting his uncle. Pasenadi is his uncle. So this nephew and uncle are fighting each other. Since they are related, they won't kill each other. They kill each other's soldiers. So this time, Pasenadi was kind of losing the battle rather. So he was all wounded and tired. So he was quietly came near. He was resting in the garden, and he heard this voice, very nice voice, this Mallikā's voice. So then he went and looked and see, oh, this young girl, So, and he asked, are you married? She said, no. And then she's very kind. She took care of this tired and hurt king, And of course, the king was very impressed. And to cut a long story short, the king married her, okay? And she became the chief queen. Yeah? So Pasenadi has at least two queens. One is Mallikā, the other is called Vasabhakatiya. Okay? So Mallikā is the one who's more attentive in listening to the Dharma. Vasabhakatiya is not so attentive. So you find you know more about Queen Mallikā. In fact, in one of the suttas not in this book, in another book, it's called about karma. It's on karma. I don't know whether. Yeah, okay. We'll be studying the sutta later on. Yeah, I think it is in this volume, Karma Mallikā, chapter 10, in this volume 39, where she confessed that, she must, in past karma, her past karma, she must have done something not good. So in this life, she doesn't look beautiful. So from this statement, we know that at least she didn't regard herself as beautiful like other women, but she definitely is a good queen, and because of that, she's very influential. She was generous, and because of that, she was wealthy. Right? So this is a very interesting karma behind Queen Mallikā. We should be studying in the next volume. Yeah? But today we look at her wisdom, how she conversed and how she answered the questions that the king asked to ask her. Okay, let's look at the translation on page 180. Now, you see, the title is Piya Mallikā Sutta. Piya here means loving or beloved. Okay, Piya has got a wide range of meaning. It also means pleasant and so on. Piya Mallikā, because the name Mallikā Sutta is quite common. So here we put a Piya in front because that's the key word in this sutta. Now look at the numbering as 3.8, Sangyutta, chapter 3, sutta 8. And then there's equal U 5.1. U is udāna. Udāna, chapter 5, sutta 1. So you find this sutta in two places. One in the Sangyutta Nikaya, the other is in the udāna. Udāna is one of the 15 small books in the 5th collection. So in other words, this story is quite well known. Originating at Savatthi, thus have I heard that at one time the Blessed One was residing in Anathapindika's park in Jeta's Grove near Savatthi. So this gives us an idea where the Buddha was. And then after that, the story goes to the palace. So all this you must be aware. When we look at the sutta, we must be aware of the narrative structure. Section 2, we are in the palace already. Okay? In some of the drama, you find there's a square bracket there, it's in the palace, but here it's not mentioned, so but you can know. Now at that time, see, once you see this phrase, now at that time, you know something else is happening. Raja Pasenadi of Kosala, together with Queen Mallikā, had gone to the roof terrace of the royal palace. Again, here you often hear this roof terrace. In India, you have this top of the palace. It's a flat place. Sometimes they have greenery there. They normally will sit there at night when it is very cool. Daytime is very warm. Especially full moon night, they like to sit there and just look at the bright moon. So, in other words, this is a very peaceful, almost romantic moment, if you like. The king and queen are there together, sitting in a relaxed way, nothing to do but just sit back in the evening on the top of the roof terrace. Then Raja Pasenadi of Kosala said this to the queen. Mallikā, is there or not one who is more beloved than your own self? Now, this is quite a tricky question. So, the king asked the queen, is there someone whom you love more than yourself? Now, you know the answer. It's a loaded question. This king is trying to hear the words spoken by the queen say, oh, I love you more than myself. You see it often in the Hindi movies or those TV soap opera and so on, right? Now, here, this story is illustrative in a very direct way to us. When I was in the A-level, 6th form, I did a Shakespeare play called King Lear. I don't know how many of you have heard of that, King Lear. You saw those tragedies by Shakespeare. The story of King Lear opens with the king. He had three daughters. So he asked, one day he got the daughters together, and he says, I'm going to divide my kingdom up to you 3. But you got to tell me how you love me. Show me, tell me how you love me. So the eldest daughter said, oh, I love you like this, like that, all the nice big words, very sweet words, And the king is impressed. Okay, he's probably a daughterly old king, likes to hear nice praises. Second daughter also have nice words to say. The third daughter, Cordelia, she is you might say, the most intelligent, and in a sense the most practical of the 3. And she is the one who truly loved the father. She tells the father, honestly, she said, Father, I don't know how I can measure my love for you. It's very difficult to say. I can't say it. How do you talk about love? I mean, this is the real thing we all know, you see. But the king insisted, no, you must tell me, You must tell me. Compared to what? Your love, and so on. So the daughter thought very hard. She says, I don't know. But if you really ask me what I like, if you ask me what I like and you have to compare the love to what I like, I like salt, in my food. The king said, what? You love me just like salt? So, so common, So you see where this story is drifting. This king wants to hear nice words, but when this child tells the truth, he couldn't accept it. You expect big talk. And to cut a long story short, the first 2 daughters, they were very conniving, they were very cunning and power crazy. So they dethroned the king, they took over the kingdom between themselves, and of course the king, by the way, got so upset with the youngest daughter, she was cut off from the wheel, so she was left all alone. But the other two daughters took over the kingdom, and the king was kind of cast off, so he has to wander and suffering in the bad weather and so on. He went blind in the end, and his daughters, the youngest daughter is the one helping him. So here you see, this is a tragedy because this king is not very wise. He wants people to talk about something you can't talk about. You must show, you see. And because of that, his weakness was being used by people who don't really love him, who talk nice things but don't really have those qualities. So here, the lesson, of course, there is words can mean nothing. We can say a lot of things, but the real thing is your action, your heart, right? So this is where in Buddhism we talk about intention. We say, what is your intention, right? If your intention is pure, then the act that follows also will be pure accordingly, right? Right. So that is the story of King Lear. Here, Queen Mallikā is very wise. She replies, so there's something women can learn. Section 4. There is no one, Maharaja, dearer to me than myself. Okay, this is the fact, But she didn't stop there. If she stopped there, she'd be in trouble, She said, is there, Maharaja, anyone more dear to you than yourself? This is the safety caveat. All right? So here you see the queen wiser than the king, right? And the second line, is there, Maharaja, anyone more dear to you than yourself? Let me simplify this. Queen Mallikā says, I love myself the most. Don't you love yourself the most? That's another way of putting it, right? So the king is forced to answer, no, there's no one I love dearer than myself, right? Now, this method of answering is called a counter question. There are 4 ways of answering. Remember, I spoke about this a long time ago. The first way of answering is what's called a direct answer, yes or no. This is a closed question. You answer yes or no. Okay, some question, you answer yes or no. For example, is the Buddha enlightened? You say yes. Okay. And then the second kind of question is, it needs a categorical, it needs an analytical answer. For example, someone asks you, what is karma? Right? You cannot answer yes or no, you must explain the second kind. And the third one is someone say, do you believe in God? So this one you can answer directly. You say, what do you mean by God? Right? So you have to ask a counter question. Okay. The fourth one is silence. Question wrongly put. You don't have to answer. All right. Suppose you are walking down the street, someone comes to you and say, do you believe in my Savior? I have nothing to do with you. So I said, sorry, no answer. I tell you, this is very effective. Because once these Mormons, the two of them, they met me in the train, So train. So they're sitting beside me, and they asked me the usual thing. Now we heard it 1,000 times, so it's really tiresome. So I told them, I said, if you don't mind, I'd rather sit peacefully here. I have no answer. They said, come on, you must have something to say. I said, no, I have nothing to say. I'm quite happy sitting here quietly. I'm not. I said, but other people talk a lot of stuff. I said, yeah, but not other people. I said, I'm happy enough sitting quietly. And they said, there must be something wrong with you. I said, there's something wrong with me. I'm quite happy sitting here. And I think you shouldn't be going around telling people there's something wrong with them just because they don't want to talk to you, because they're just not interested in your religion or what they're happy. Don't you understand that they're happy? That's talking enough already. So I sat very quietly, and he was saying some other things. I was very upset, So I was quite surprised that he actually got upset, because his training is supposed to be calm and so on. I think this is one reaction they never expected, That, and I tell you, this is the worst way of responding to them, for them. For us, it's the best way of responding, by simply not wasting your breath. Some people love the argument, they feel good, the heart rate goes up, blood pressure goes up. What's the point? Just keep quiet. Because this way, they cannot deal with you, because you just sit sorry, no talk. They can't have anything to do with you. Because the Buddha said, you want to talk, you must talk in a civil way. You talk to find answers, and whoever got the right answer, you accept that. Fine, that way of talking is fine. In the Buddha's time, you find people talk like that. They come and they ask serious questions, and if the Buddha is right, they will follow. Okay? Sariputta also takes up the challenge, and they have debates, and when the other side loses, they join, they become monks. So that's the real way. But it's a one-way talk, so it's no point arguing. All right? So these are 4 ways of answering, and here Mallikā uses the method of counter question. Then Pasenadi replies, section 5, for me too, Mallikā, there's no one dearer to me than myself. Then, okay, let me paraphrase section 6. So the king is slightly upset, you see. Okay, he's not actually angry, but he's a little annoyed that Mallikā is so intelligent and kind of like managed to out-talk him, So he goes to the Buddha to complain, you see. He goes to the Buddha, sort of complain. So look at 7.1. Here I was, Mante, together with Queen Mallikā on the roof terrace of the royal palace. When I said this to Queen Mallikā, right? Mallikā, is there or not one who is more beloved than your own self? There is none, Maharaja, dearer to me than myself. Is there, Maharaja, anyone more dear to you than yourself? And when this was said, Bhante, I said to the Queen Mallikā, for me too, Mallikā, there is no one dearer to me than myself. Right? Of course, here we don't really know the emotion of the king. The possibility is he was upset, a little annoyed because the queen is so intelligent and out-talk him. On the other hand, he could be seeing the Buddha and maybe like sharing admiration for the queen. This part we're not sure, right? But definitely he wants the Buddha to like see, is this right or not? Let the Buddha endorse. So the Buddha replies in a verse, Sabbadisa anuparigamma cetasa nevatjaga piya tarang atana kwachi. Evam piya putu atta paresang tasmana ingse paramatta kamo ti. Having traversed all the quarters with the mind, having seen everywhere with my mind, one surely finds none anywhere dearer than oneself. Right? In other words, the Buddha says, I have surveyed the whole world, and I have noticed there is no one dearer than your own self. Thus, for each of us, love the self the most. Therefore, one should love the self. One who loves the self should not harm another. Right? This is the essence of the golden rule. The golden rule. Golden rule means what? You should not do unto others what you do not want others to do to you. On the positive side, do unto others what you would others do to you. On the positive side. This is the golden rule. This is the universal basis of goodness. You don't need to be religious to understand this. This is common ethics. And this is the beginning of Buddhist ethics, right? The 5 precepts. You can use this to explain the 5 precepts. When someone loves himself, what does it mean? We love life. Life is the most precious to us. That's why the first precept is against killing, right? And then number 2, we all are alive, but we must have the support of life. Food, clothing, housing, right? We must basically be happy. When we have these things, we are happy. The word happy, sukha, also means comfort. Comfort. So in Buddhism, comfort and happiness, they are the same. You are comfortable, you're happy. You're happy, you're comfortable, right? Of body and mind, right? So, second precept is against taking what's not yours. That's wrong, because if you take away what belongs to others, then they will not live happily. It's very simple, right? Second precept against stealing. Then the third one is sexual misconduct. It's a very specialized rule, sexual misconduct. Sexual misconduct is wrong because whoever breaks this precept violates the person, your person, the person of the other person, meaning you have not respected the freedom of this person. The third precept means the other person has the right to say no. Has the right to say no. Okay? And the fourth precept is against lying, right? All these 4 precepts, all the 5 precepts, in fact, must be true. So truth is another universal value. Truth. value of truth. So these are all values. Number 1 is value of life. Number 2, value of happiness. Number 3, value of freedom. Number 4 is value of truth. Then the 5th precept is against taking drugs and drinks. This is to prepare ourselves for mental training. Keep the mind unclouded, keep the mind clear. Respect for wisdom. These are the 5 values. Then you've got 5 precepts, 5 values. So this is the basis of that idea, the golden rule. It's a very short, very wonderful sutta.